Everyone, welcome again to MGS Coaching Football, and as usual, I thank you for watching my channel. Again, non-subscribers, right? Push that button. Doesn't cost a thing, as we all know, and I think you'll be happy that you did. Well, today, following up a week's worth of our match concept foundation, right? How we establish our teaching progression for both our match quarters and our three match. What I want to go start with you today is another playlist, and it's all about what we call cover 10, or that's our three match. Right? I mean, Nick Saban's the architect of this coverage with his Rip Liz, right? We call cover 10 because it's our three match, begins with a T. It's the only coverage we have that begins with the letter T. That's a true zone coverage, not a blitz coverage. Okay. And so, what I want to do today is go over the premise behind our version of three match that we call cover 10. Okay. It's a different version. I know for a fact it's a simplified version of Coach Saban's Rip Liz. We don't have the type of athletes that Alabama has. So, right, we needed to simplify. So, this is our version. All right. So, over here, I'm going to go through the key terms behind the premise of our three match cover 10. And then over here, it's not that I'm going to draw up route concepts or anything like that, but I'll bring to life the key terms behind the premise that is our version of three match cover 10 over here. Okay? So first up is 10, right? Three match. What is it? What have we done to three match? Well, for starters, we kept the basic, right? It's a three deep rotational coverage. We kept that the same. And the other thing that we kept the same is there's a match side and there's a zone side. So we're not reinventing the wheel that way. Okay? How we coordinate the coverage, well, that might be a little different, as we'll see. Okay? We have a base rule, again, to simplify things. All right? Our base rule is the pass strength that we call Liz or Rip, right? L is Liz is left, our Rip is right. Okay, that's our match side. So when we initially teach cover 10, our three match in the spring and again in the preseason, that's the rule. Okay, if it's a Liz, that's the match side. Means on the right, you guys are the zone. If it's a Rip, that's the match side. It's not that defenders flip sides because of it. They follow their alignment rules, but that's how we begin the teaching progression. Okay? So, therefore, all right, letter B here, 2B, the safety spin, it's either a Roger or a Louis call. And they spin opposite the pass strength. So if it's a Liz, you'll hear Roger, Roger, Roger. If it's a Rip, you'll hear Louis, Louis, Louis. Okay, and that's the same call we use when we're blitzing in our blitz coverages. Normally, they're rotating or spinning to the blitz after the snap, so this is a little bit difficult. Okay, but once they get in the habit, they can separate the two. Okay, so the base rule when we start the teaching, Liz, that's the match side, so it's going to be a Roger because the opposite side is the zone side. Okay, so that may or may not be similar to how you do it. It's a very much a simplified version of how Alabama does it. So some of the adjustments to that rule, they're based on the personnel. So when a team has 11 personnel and they've got, number 16 and number 80 in the field, they tend to go only number 16 vertical, or that tends to be their go-to side. We'll make that the match side, even if it's not on the pass strength, right? If it's a Liz, this would still be the match side. So now the safeties would be spinning to the pass strength. That's just an example. So if a team's personnel is going to dictate the match side, then you break the rule. Same thing with splits. If you notice that when they tighten the splits on a certain side or in a certain formation, and therefore That should be the match side, then right, same thing, whether or not it's the pass strength. If it's also the pass strength, well, that's still not what you're basing it on. I'm just giving you some adjustments to the base rule, right? As well as tendencies. Especially as you get into the middle of the season, the second half of the season, you get a lot more stuff on tape, right? On film, on huddle. So tendencies develop. You might notice, like, whoa, we definitely should be have the match side this week to this grouping or to this part of the formation in this particular down and distance in this part of the field, right? So that's how we make adjustments to our base rule as the season progresses or as the opponents change. Okay. So, number three, our match coverage also gives us a four-man rush. So, we like three match cover 10 because we can play our base mass coverage because the match coverage foundation's been taught already. We can still run with it, but now it's a built in four-man rush, right? And our match quarters, it's 8 are in pass coverage. In our three match cover 10, 7 are in coverage. So it's a four-man rush, right? Without blitzing anybody. That's built into the coverage. And that is the outside linebacker opposite the lizard rip in the base rule, or that would be the outside linebacker opposite, whether we're determining it based on personnel splits or tendencies, right? But it's always an outside linebacker. Because remember, we're a 3-4. And then the other thing that's built in, now this is similar to Alabama's Rip Liz. We get a number 4, we get a +1 in the box because we have a safety spinning down. So it's better in run, right? It's better versus the run. Without having to blitz or do anything crazy, still playing out of your base, the thing that you practice the most, right? That's how you can help get better run support. Right? So that's the premise behind our version of three match, cover 10. And again, in my opinion, the biggest tweak that we've made is how we teach the base rules on determining match and zone sides. Right? Boom, done. Pass strength, that's the match side. And we found that to be so much easier for our players. Right? So now over here, right, I have a 2x2 gun Dallas pistol drawn up. This is a Liz, so therefore it's going to be a Roger. Okay? And I'll get to the carry call in a second. So when we're in cover 10, right? So this would call, right, this front and coverage, this the call, defensive call. Example 50 10. 50 10. I'm not going to go through the signals, right? But 50 10 is the call. We're not doing any kind of line stunts or anything like that. 50 10 is the call. Boom, done. 10 tells the outside linebacker to the lizard rip, which in our system is going to be the dime, tells the dime if 2 is removed, you get into Disney, which is outside shade. Okay? Get into the outside shade. Because remember, Liz, this is the match side now. And when you're first teaching it, again, in the spring and then again the preseason, make your guys say match, match, match. Make the other guy say zone, zone, zone. Just make them do it. I could care less what they think or why, or we didn't do this. I don't care. Remember, if a guy says, oh, we've done this, or I don't need to, they might be uncoachable. So make them do it. Okay. Match, match, match. Therefore, they're saying zone, zone, zone. So the reason why the dime is in Disney or outside shade, he's got number 2 vertical. He's got number 1 vertical. Because Liz, 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 and the safeties are making that call. Therefore, they're Liz. They know right now, Roger, Roger, Roger. And so we don't do anything till that ball snapped. And when the ball snapped, the safeties are going to spin. Okay, the safeties are going to spin. So I'm not necessarily going to get into the nuts and bolts in terms of assignments and techniques and any kind of route concepts. That's in another future video. For right now, what's the basis, the premise behind our version of three match cover 10? Okay, so this is the zone side. So the carry call varies. So here's how we look at it. If number two is a tight end, and it's a pro look. So there's tremendous separation between numbers one and number two. That's an automatic carry call. And we teach our safeties and we empower them to make the correct call. So we teach them why they want to make the carry call. So when he says he's carry, 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 he's telling the corner, guess what? I got two vertical. Carry equals number two vertical. Okay? So if they went four verticals, corner has one vertical, dime has two vertical, free has two vertical, corner ends up taking one vertical, even though he's a deep third defender. So four verticals, we can cover it. Okay? So that's why he'd make that carry call. We're going to teach him why that's important. And then now he's screwing down in the box. So we went from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the box. Now screwing down, that's our seventh guy in the box, right? For better run support. And we don't even have to blitz. And so the other thing I want to talk to you about, remember, is this is a match coverage with four-man rush, and it's the outside linebacker opposite. So if it's Liz, that's the outside linebacker who's going to rush on pass. Okay? And so they'll make a little call to each other. I'm not going to say anything because in a normal rush situation, a three-man rush, both of our defensive ends, end and stud, they have outside cage. If he's rushing, we don't want him running into each other. So now he becomes a B-gap rusher, right? So now the outside linebacker has outside cage. Okay, so they got to make a little call, communicate that to each other. Again, we have little things, and sometimes, depending on the players, we'll let them come up with the calls, just so long as I don't see, boom, the defensive end working outside, running right into our outside linebacker, right? So get it into the B gap. Because they go big on big, that's going to put a lot of stress on that protection. Okay? So that's the premise behind our version of three cover 10. And I think the biggest difference in simplification is the way we start off teaching it in our base rule. Pass strength, Liz, match side. Zones opposite. Rips the match side, zone opposite. And then once you get through it and reps, then it's easy to make the adjustments based on personnel splits, right? Or tendencies. So I hope you got something out of this, right? This is our cover 10, our three match premise. Why we go to it, why we made that simple adjustment in teaching to get our guys lined up and understand who's matched and essentially which way the safeties are spinning and why. And the match side guys, both the outside linebacker and the corner, they're going to be playing verticals. Okay, so obviously, if you don't have those type of players on your defense, then that also impacts whether or not you can play three match. Okay, so make sure you factor all that in. Always think about your players first. Don't try and put the square peg in a round hole. You got to sometimes make adjustments, either move players around or whatever you need to do, or you might not even be able to play three match. Because if this kid can't cover a vertical, then you can't play three match, right? So just keep that in mind, please. And as always, thank you for watching my channel because I do really appreciate it.